Good evening, everybody, and welcome along to episode 8 of the West of Scotland Football League Buildup show. On episode 8, as you can see to the right-hand side of your screen, we've got Stewart Maxwell, manager of Pollock. We've been trying to get you on for about 4 weeks, and my fantastic organisational skills have put paid to that, and I've messaged you sort of 15 minutes before to get you on the day. Listen, Stewart, it's appreciated as ever. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. You were saying just before we came on here, you're working from home today, but you're kind of delighted that the season's just about to finish up. It gives you a bit of time to kind of get your thoughts and get yourself back together.
Yeah. It's like probably every manager at this stage of the season. It's been a long season. Whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, it's just always good to sort of come at the end of it. But I say a manager's work doesn't stop when they kick the last ball. It's already probably after Christmas. You're always thinking of next year again as well. You've got to sort of pre-plan. So you're always ahead of yourself. But at least the stress of the games are out the road, and then it's on to, if you're obviously at a club next year, you're on to your recruitment drive.
Yeah, you're safe. There's no relegation threat. Clyde Bank have won the league. I actually mentioned to Opie, and I had a wee interview with him yesterday, and I said to him, I felt that the Pollock Drumchapel game a few weeks back was as wild as, for me anyway, looking on, it was as wild a game as you could have at that stage of the season, where both teams didn't really have anything to play for. It was that, and then flip to that with St Cadoc's as well. I know you guys lost to Burough a couple of weeks after that. Is that kind of how the season's kind of going to go now, with Clyde Bank kind of already having wrapped up? You've got a chance to play maybe players that you don't normally play, or bring younger boys in, get players back for injury, that sort of thing. Is that kind of how the season's going to put up out now for you?
To be honest, I've only had 13, 14 players available on Saturday. I've probably, when we hit that run when we won 3-4 games in a row, it was the first time in months I had a full squad and then quickly get decimated. So I've not got the luxury. I've not got a big squad anyway, so I've not had the luxury to chop and change. I've had Kyle Falls and Jamie Bain suspended after the Burough game for Saturday. B-Fan this Saturday. Stephen Docherty was on the back of a horrendous challenge on Saturday. He's struggling. Sean O'Donnell's struggling. So I have not got the luxury of the teams at the top of the league with the big squads to rotate. So we just go with what we've got available, strongest team on the day, and just take it for the end to the end of the season.
Many folk know you at this level, Maxi, but for those that don't, we've got a guy sitting in front of us, played junior football all these days. Let's just, I'm right in saying you signed with Ashfield when you were 21, if my divulging is right there.
I think it was 1920, Paul, maybe aye. But no far away for that.
Stints at Canberra Rangers, Johnson Borough, Cumbernauld United, Linlithgow Rose, Bathgate Thistle, Rob Roy, Kilwinning Rangers and Peters Hill. Maxi, that's a lot of clubs, mate.
One of them was a loan club.
Yep.
I was at Cumbernauld on loan because I was trying to get away from Johnston Borough, and back then there was a thing called the retention rule and I couldn't get away, so I ended up, good pal of mine, Stevie, Willie Patterson and Stevie Rankin were up there, and they took me on loan, and then I got my move to Linlithgow. I was supposed to go to Linlithgow, but I couldn't get out. Johnston Borough were wanting too much money for me, and but unfortunately an error in my you see when you think about that retention rule, your contract was up and you were still retained with a club. It was the only affiliation in the world where that happened, and you think the way the world is now, the SGIFA would have been taken to court and put in the football jail for what they did to players, because it scuppered so many boys back in the day to get moved. So you're signing a contract, and when your contract's up, you're only a free agent. Don't know how that worked, but Tom Johnson and his merry men made sure that all the players suffered, and it was a great era to play at that level. But the way the clubs and the players get treated, because the SGIFA were just a law within themselves, arrogant, didn't want to move out of the opportunity. Probably when the loan league started as well, they had probably an opportunity to be part of that, but they were too arrogant to move. And things like that, retention, all that all sticks with me, because I know a lot of really good players that suffered with that, couldn't get probably moves, probably lost out in trophies, medals, etc. because of it. But if you think transfer that into the current world of now and try to do that, you get to jail for that, wouldn't you? So, do you know what I mean?
So you're going back maybe 20 to 25 years ago. That rule was in place, wasn't it?
Aye. So I came into junior football 1996.
Just when I was a
So
wee boy.
just when you were a wee boy, and like I say, I've seen it evolve over what's that? 3 decades now, 4 decades, Paul. 3 decades, is it?
Yeah,
90s, 2000. Aye. So I've seen it evolve.
Your age.
Aye, I'm showing my age, mate. Aye. But I've seen it evolve. Clubs, a lot of clubs are still the same template. Obviously, the world's evolved as well. So I'm just disappointed. I mean, there's been a lot about this reconstruction, and you know me, I don't go and talk on social media about what I think and all that. But
I might change that today, sure.
well, aye, well, do you know what I mean? I don't go and tweet things and all that. It's not my style.
Yeah, I get that.
But I just feel that they missed the boat probably 10, 15 years ago. Actually, when I was at Rob Roy, I can remember the only became an option, and I did say to Rob Roy at the time to consider it. But I think it was a bit of a pilot scheme at that point, so it was a bit untested, and obviously junior clubs were under an iron fist of the SIFA at that point, so to jump would have been a right gamble. But I just think if you look back, anything driven with the SFA is always going to come to the fore, and it was an SFA driven thing. So, but it gave a lot of pop-up clubs, if you want to call them, back then an opportunity to get into a setup.
Yeah.
And now fast forward a decade and they're probably all flourished and all benefiting off it. So again, the junior clubs missed the boat in that. It's disappointing, but now they're obviously trying to reverse that. Now obviously we've went non-league and all that, so I don't know how it's going to pan out, but it'll be interesting to watch.
Well, listen, see while we're on it, we may as well just we'll speak about it. So obviously we've seen recently the West of Scotland release a statement saying that they would like to put a proposal forward to basically relinquish the Lowland League and the West of Scotland take the west side of that. I found out the other day there that they did. So the Lowland League voted against it for 25-26, but I don't know if it's out there. We mentioned it in the show on Saturday. They did an indicative vote for 26-27, and the Lowland League were for it 12-3. I think we won abstaining. So the Lowland League have said they'd be happy to do it 26-27, but now the West of Scotland have come in and said, here's our proposal. That would state to me that they want to do that for 25-26. Now, Maxi, there's no denying, if you look at the West version of it, it looks like a right good league, and it looks like it would be a right good, tough ask of teams to it would be really competitive, I think is what I'm trying to say. You look at they said it would be from the 11th of April, you would have certain teams in it, right? But obviously that would be subject to change depending upon where teams finish. You as a gaffer, because obviously we know it's no you that ultimately gets to decide, right, what happens, but you as a gaffer, do you look at that new reconstruction and does it excite you? Does it get your belly rumbling? Do you look at it and go, I know there'll be fixtures in there that you go, but there's also other ones you'd be like, oh, that's got a little bit of Scottish Cup-esque about it. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think in the current setup, I'll be honest, I think any team that's going up, and if you were going up for the Our League into the Own League, you've got to totally readdress things, i.e. the travel. There's more games, there's more midweek games, there's less training. There's a lot of AstroTurf pitches in that league. So you've really got, there's a demand on you as a manager to go up to that level as well, because there's more travel, let's say, games, etc. But you really need to get the commitment of players, because it's not just a case of signing players and can you commit to going to like say a gala on a Wednesday night, Gretna on a Wednesday night, or and so many. Because I
think they would flip over to the East, Max.
No, I'm talking about the current setup, Paul.
Oh, in general, sorry, my bad.
Aye, so I was saying if you were going up just now, so that's a lot of things that are negative for a West team to go into, because you need buses, you need to make sure you've got players can travel, players can finish working time. So my point being, if you flip it over into going back, it's like the old East and West Junior League, essentially, but obviously a wee bit more geographically stretched out. I think it would be better because it wouldn't be as much travel. I think there would be obviously more games, but if you look down south, Paul, how they've propelled their non-league football,
It's unbelievable.
we've been miles behind them for years. I mean, non-league football in England's tremendous, and
Sunday football in England's tremendous.
well, they've got live games, they've got great sponsorship. It's ran the right way. Still think we're miles off that, Paul. But I think that's just us as a country. We're so far behind everything else. There's a lot of more dynamic people that should be involved, but there's so many people that've got a grip of things that don't want to let go. So I think changing the leagues over would be beneficial for financially for clubs, logistically for clubs, and better for players. For like Sir Pollock, for example, Pollock couldn't go into the home league right now. Financially, they're not capable of going into the home league, and that's the truth. Where they're at, so the opportunity to regionalise it and it will make it more competitive. I think is exciting for all the clubs. I feel sorry for like Clyde Bank, for example. They've spent they've built up to a point of really put a good investment in their squad this year, really back Moff. And then if it did happen this year, for example, then and then club like Pollock just creep in, and they've not really
It's almost
invested in
like
it.
we've said it in previous shows. We spoke about it on the actual reconstruction show about how it would kind of render Clyde Bank's season a bit of it would kind of null it. Don't get me wrong, man. You know, when you're playing in a league and you played as good as Clyde Bank have this year, you're going to celebrate that success anyway. But
ultimately, they're not going to take away from Clyde Bank. They've won the league and they're going to celebrate winning the league, and that's fantastic. Yeah. But I still, again, it's just they've got to go to a playoff. And I know they'll be favourites, right? But listen, Musselburgh and Harbour Beef, so I think Harbour Beef are creeping up in that league. I actually noticed that last night. So they're no mugs. It's not going to be easy. But Clyde Bank, in my opinion, would be favourites. But you win a league, you should go straight in. Yeah. They're not talking going up to the Premiership. They're going to Tier 5 here. They've won the league. They shouldn't be playing playoffs. If it was the old way, two should go down. East champs go up. The West champs go up. And that's the way it is. And it's a nonsense. You look, then you go to the Lone League. The winners of the Lone League will go to play the Highland League. The winners of that will go to play Bottom. It's an absolute nonsense. It should be win your league, get promoted. Again, Scottish football, they make everything difficult for themselves. When it could be so.
It's self-preservation, Maxi. They're trying to look after their own clubs, but I think that's going to be something of the past. Again, we spoke about it on Saturday. I think that we really feel that there's somebody within the SFA that have said, look, we're not going to look after you anymore. And when I say that, I'm talking about your Cowdenbeath, your Berwick Rangers, your Albion Rovers. You know, it's now or never. And that's why I think on the subject of Clyde Bank, Moff won't. I mean, the talk of reconstruction might end up having Moff not having to play a playoff. You know, and that's as it stands now. In my eyes, the way that I look at it, if they're trying to push, you know, this for 25-26, why would Moff have to play
No, they wouldn't.
A playoff? Do you know what I mean? He wouldn't.
I think it's too late to push it in for next year, Paul.
I think they'll do it. I honestly do, mate. I feel that. Just in a person, I'm not saying it's correct, right? I'm not saying I'm right.
Yeah, of course,
But I just think that there's somebody within the SFA, somebody that's really, really pushing for this. You know, it was all so hush until it broke. The story broke, and then it turned out that this was handed to the SFA back in April 2024. Nobody knew about it. Do you know what I mean? And then now we're seeing Brecon, who have not been promoted, who have not won the league, or not had the chance to be promoted. We're now hearing that, you know, there's somebody, a figurehead there that is really, really wanting to push this through. They don't want to be in the Highland League anymore. Do you know what I mean?
No, I get that. And listen, like you say, self-preservation, everybody's going to look after their own best interests. There's nothing the matter with that, but we need to get a common ground on it, and there needs to be some clarity very quickly, because clubs are trying to prepare budgets, logistically where they're going to be, what league they're going to be in, etc. So it needs to come ahead. I think it's dragged on too long, as everything does. And I've got my own good thoughts. Let's say over the years, I've seen things evolve more than a lot of other people at this level, because I've been in it for so long. So but I kind of keep my opinions to myself at points, you know, because some of it does frustrate me.
You're a gaffer, mate, so part of you has to probably do that. Do you know what I mean? It's all well and good being opinionated and stuff like that, but you've kind of got to look after your own club, and you don't want to put targets on your back, etc., etc. Right?
Yeah, totally.
Let's talk about Kirkroe Rob Roy, the good guys there. Obviously, a lot's happened over the last year, but you were a bit of a driving force that kind of have got Kirkroe Rob Roy to where they are now. Let's talk about your time at Kirkroe Rob Roy, because you've obviously left Adamsley and then had to play out with the town for a long period of time. Stuart, I would imagine very, very fond memories at Kirkroe Rob Roy.
Obviously I was there as a player. I had a successful spell there as a player, won a couple of league titles and I think 3 cup finals as well, and a really good side. It was obviously at Adamsley, and then when I got the opportunity to go back, I got a bad injury in my last year of playing, so probably timing of that and Rob Roy were in a bit of a state off the pitch and uncertainty where we're going to be. So I got 1 season at Adamsley, final season, which holds a lot of fond memories. My dad's ashes are actually scattered there. So they are. So like I say, I think everybody who sort of knows me to a point or knows my connection, or knows how much the club means to me in general. It was a really, really tough period at Rob Roy. Obviously, we went to Cumbernauld and it was a period of uncertainty. There was so many letdowns with the council, so many false promises. Really frustrating. But a fantastic club, fantastic people. Brilliant supporters, a community that I know I've been part of for probably a quarter of my life, Paul. So that sort of sums it up. So I've got a lot of close connections here. Still have. Supporters were brilliant with me. Club was a small band. I was like sort of probably a glorified committee member as well. So I did a lot off the park as well to help Neil and Jerry and Ian Fife at the time, and Neil really backed the club. He drove it behind me, and financially he made sure the club stayed alive. And at the period where I had some really good teams there, I had really good moments there, and I just always felt like, well, probably a couple of split moments, bad decisions away for probably adding silverware there, more silverware at my time, big games, and we had a lot of big games, a lot of memorable games, and I had some really good teams there, some incredible players over the years that have went on to do really well or done really well for Rob Roy, who were a top team for a number of years when we were there. But in my period of when just before, obviously I was there. I was never going to leave Rob Roy. That was in my head, but it was a bit of a letdown with the council, and obviously we had a rally in the town, and I was part of that, and I had a good relationship with. And ironically, the councillor, it's now the MSP. She's now the main person. She wasn't then. If she was the main person, I would have probably got it over the line with her quicker. But we were so hamstrung with council, the way it all panned out. It became frustrating, and then you sit there and go, you've gave this over a decade of your life, and if this doesn't go over the line, if man a laughing stock here, if I back to loser, you know. And then the opportunity came to speak to Pollock, and I was torn. And at that point, for the outside looking in, you think Pollock's a massive club, probably on paper the biggest club at that point, and there was a lot of interest in the job, and I was torn what to do, and I still draw back on that, and then obviously I took the decision to take it, which wasn't easy. And probably looking back, I could have rewritten the script a wee bit. I'd probably done things differently, in the sense of how it all panned out. But and then Rob Roy didn't go into the ground straight away, but then obviously news started to filter through. I was still in contact with Neil, and it was going to happen. And to be honest, when I knew it was happening, there was a tear in my eye, Paul, if I'm honest.
Aye, no doubt, mate.
I was quite emotional that the day I found out through a counsellor, before it obviously broke to probably broke to Neil at probably around about the same time. And I wasn't there, but I was still. I know all the good people there, and I actually sat for probably about 10 minutes and had a tear in my eye thinking about how happy I'm for all those people and all the people that have fought. And there's a few important people at that club that have died that I've never seen it come to fruition. So all these sort of emotions all kick in. You're only a human being, and you fought a corner of something that you've been so passionate about. Because again, Paul, Rob Roy took over my life at a point, and I was so immersed in it. And I look back, I made a couple of sacrifices I probably shouldn't have made.
Yeah.
But personal sort of
you do that in football, mate, don't you? You do that.
Of course, you do that. But I was totally immersed, and I was driven to bring it home. And then, obviously, I say the news broke right at home, and then probably the first game of the season, there was a big build up to it, and I can remember we were at Troon that day, and I can remember standing down at Troon, and I could picture myself what it would be like at the new stadium with all the people I know, and I was so happy for them all. And and let's say I've been up. I get invited up to they had a history tour over 2 weeks at the new stadium. I get invited up as a guest. I was in the day with Ronnie McLeod, who was a legendary goalie, won the Junior Cup in the 60s. Yeah. So me and Ronnie were a guest, and I got up there and I'm speaking to fans and people I've known. And let's say Rob Roy's always going to be my club, and like I say, I'm just so happy for all the good people there and all the supporters that I'm still in contact with, and the people running about the club, and such a community-based club and so many good people, and delighted they're back home, and hopefully they can kick on.
Mate, you speak. It was actually watching you there for 5 or 6 minutes talking about Kirkroe Rob Roy. You speak so passionately about them, mate, and you must be so glad. I think one of the reasons why maybe Pollock picked you up, mate, was the support a team. We know listen. We don't know. As a podcast host, we don't know what goes on behind football clubs, but you hear stories, right? And you're not always privy to them, and you don't always take them fully on board. But we know Pollock are not in a great financial state at the moment, right? That's very obvious with the goings on, the state of the pitch. No disrespect to maybe people who are trying to do lots of work on that, but I think Pollock have made a really good decision in appointing you at that point, because they could have went a different direction. You were known, your Kirkroe Rob Roy sides were young, they were fit, they were hungry, they had desire. That was something that Pollock maybe didn't have at that point. And I think personally that was probably one of the reasons why you got the job, because Pollock knew that you were a hungry manager, that you would nurture youth, that you would give youth a chance, you would have your teams really aggressive, and sometimes what's hard work beats talent. I think that's the saying. Sometimes hard work beats talent, Stuart, and I think
agree with that.
You've done really well with the resources you had at Pollock, and ultimately your first game, Scottish Cup against United, couldn't have had it any better, could you have?
I had to go and get a quick haircut that day, because obviously I only took the job 2 days before. I wasn't going on to the telly. Man, I'm only kidding. No, it was a baptism of fire. I went into Pollock. They were going through I didn't really know what they were going through, but when I look back, obviously the committee's totally changed since the committee took me on board. So when I look back now, Paul, I'll be honest, I think I was taken in to troubleshoot it, because there was 27, 28 signed players.
Yeah.
I remember walking in, and a lot of them obviously know me, and a lot of them I know, some of them I knew personally. So I think I was walking in a bit like the Grim Reaper, because obviously they're looking, going like, he's not going to run with 27 players. And then I always remember a story, like I remember I was in about a week or so, and obviously we came in, and then we had a hastily arranged game against Blantyre Vic's closed door on the Wednesday night, because we were playing United on the Monday. We played that game Wednesday night just to get every game. Then we trained on the Saturday morning, obviously because of the game on the Monday night, because we were live in the telly that night. So I can remember coming in, it was all, I can imagine, it was all up in the air. It's a high profile job. I'm leaving a club I was with for so long, so ticked a lot of people's boxes to have a bit of gossip about it. So I get that. But I remember a couple of weeks into the job, and I kind of going like that. There was sort of a young guy there, and I was kind of like, I was at training, and actually it shows you how much was going on. Like, it was a week into it, and I went, "Who's that there?" And it was like, "That's the third goal, a young boy." I went to third goalie, and I went, how can you run with 3 goalies? So ended up having to dilute the squad down quickly. And do you know what? Some players would have fell out with that because obviously some of them left, but it was for their benefit as well because you're standing at the side of the park, first game, and there's 7 boys no stripped. It doesn't run like that, and so I had to sort of dilute it down, but I had to troubleshoot it, and you can't be popular when you do that, Paul. And let's say if you look back now, you've probably done players favours as well because it got them opportunities to go and play at other clubs and brought the squad down. But if you flip it to 27 players to 19 I've got now, and I think the average age has probably came down about 7 or 8 years as well. I've got 6 teenagers in my squad now, and obviously the budget's more than half for where it was when I first came in. And that's all facts because you're hearing it from me now. So, like you say, I'm not.
I love
Aye.
it.
So because you know what it's like, Paul. They remember all this and that, and but the committee's all changed as well. And again, there are a lot of younger people driving Pollock now, and it will take a bit of time. And there's good people at that club as well, really good people. The members have been really good with me. I've got a good membership. Yeah, I get that Pollock, but remember, Paul hadn't won it when I came in, Paul. So it's not as if you're coming to a successful setup. So I get that people are still going to accept the landscape of Pollock financially has changed. But the start reality is they live within their means now, and wages are paid on time, and everything else that didn't happen after quickly when I realised when I came in the door that something wasn't right. So they will take a wee bit of time to get back. Whether the crowds dip on a so-called lesser product in the pitch because it was more a progressive product, time will tell on that. But there's a lot of 90-minute fans there, Paul, that really voice their opinion and create the negativity, Paul. Because I can tell you right now, the members at all I know and all the season ticket holders, aye, people make comments, and at any match, you're no exempt to criticism, right? But there's criticism and negativity and constructive criticism, as I call it. So I know there's a lot of people there really accept where they're at and good people there, but there is a lot of 90-minute fans that think Paul's got a self-entitlement. Paul's no self-entitlement, and they haven't had that for a number of years. Tony McInally had a good spell there. A good spell, but Rab Snedden was the golden years. That was when Paul were Brian Dingwall, Martin Nelson, Robert Downs,
Good
unbelievable.
times, man. Good times.
And last it was the team I played against, Paul, so I know how good they were, and I know how good these players were.
Steve Downs there a lot. Downs's kid goes to my kid's school, and
what a player. Brian Dingwall.
I'll tell you a story very quickly, Maxi. Right? I lived in the Borders for a long time. I'd moved away. Stuff had happened in my life, and I'd disappeared for a long period of time. But I moved back to Glasgow, and I moved to Barhead. In the first game, there was a game on the Saturday. I moved back to Friday. There was a game on the Saturday, and obviously straight back to Glasgow, wanting to pick up a football game. And it was Arthurlie versus Pollock, of course, right? But at this point, Downsy was playing for Arthurlie. And I went in, and I didn't actually realise that Downsy had played for Arthurlie, right? And I recognised him straight away. He was on the bench, and I think Paul, well, maybe winning 3-0, and Downsy came on in the 85th minute, right? Somebody shouted something from the stand. He went on. He got really heated about it, right? I don't know what was said. I couldn't quite hear it. And he kind of walked over to the stand, said something to the person, walked away, the ball went back into play, pushed somebody pushed him back and he nutted the player. He was on the park 2 minutes. And he was sent off, man. I couldn't believe it. I was like,
it was a fiery character, Downsy, but it was a great player at Arthurlie. Arthurlie were a right good side at that point as well, but it was a plethora of right good players at Pollock at that point, and Andy McClay as well, somebody else I know really well, brilliant player. But like I say, that was the golden years of Pollock, but that was the early 2000s, Paul. You know, that was when they were. So they've not really hit the heights. They've had wee moments here or there, and they were relegated when Tony was there. They get relegated as well into the Super First because that year I took Rob Roy up with him, and we had a ding-dong with him all season. It was a good rivalry, you know. But like I say, there's a wee bit of self-entitlement there, but you're hoping that loses. But I've never seen a club that attracts so much attention out with their own fans. It's incredible.
you know,
but that shows you a bigger club there.
I think you're 100% right. I've told you before, Paul was my team growing up. My two PE teachers were the managers at one point. You'll remember Ronnie Lowry.
Yeah, remember I nearly signed for Pollock and Ronnie was the manager, but I ended up never signed.
So Alex McVeigh was involved with that.
Yeah, I remember Alex McVeigh as well.
Both guys, I think, are maybe in their mid-60s now, but they were incredible role models growing up. You know, they're really, really, really good guys, and that's where my love of Pollock came from, and latterly, you know, I took my wee cousin, who you know, Christopher. Christopher's absolutely mad for Pollock. He's
every game, great lad.
Every game, his flag, his scarf, you know, and if I wasn't involved at football at this level on a Saturday, whether it be media or whatever else it is I do, I'd be down at the Pollock games. And I've said to you before, part of me would do anything for Pollock for nothing. Do you know what I mean? But as you get older,
that sounds like the Pollock template. When can we sign you up?
sign for nothing, the Pollock template. But I think, as I said to you at the beginning of the show, see as you got older, Maxi, you don't. There's things that you do, because obviously I only work part time, right? So anything that I do with media has got to be earning me a wage, right? And I've been quite vocal on the fact that if I wanted to rip up a media template, a club, it would be Pollock's, and try and create something really, really good. But listen, that's a story for another day. Pollock are sort of sitting mid-table now. How would you summarise your season, and how do you move forward, knowing that the West of Scotland might have a complete different outlook next year?
Summarise the season, to be honest, frustration. That's probably the word I would use. We've shown really what we're capable at points, and then we've let ourselves down. We exited 2 cups and penalties against lower league teams, and dominated spells of the game but again, never took our opportunities, and that's football. It goes to penalties, you're out. We lost to Kilbride in extra time. I think it was well documented. We scored a goal that should never have been chopped off. It put us in front, and but again, they're a top side, so probably we were massive underdogs. And so the cup games, we've been fine lines. We've let ourselves down. Like, I thought we were abysmal against Irvine Meadow for 45 minutes and Muirkirk, but then we turned it around at the start where you can't transfer it. Probably more the Irvine Meadow game, the second half, it was a siege. We missed a penalty at 1 each. Sorry, we missed a penalty 1-0 down, and then we also equalised. We also scored that penalty and through. Muirkirk was a bit of a different game. They were young, energetic, and as more as the game was opening up, the hits in the counter. We conceded a penalty against them, but then we scored and we couldn't get a winner. But Muirkirk were really good on the day, I thought, for a young team. So kudos to them. And that's obviously Scotland. So the cups have been really frustrating, because in between that, we produced really good performances in the cup up to East Stirling and played really well. 1-3-0. You alluded the Drumchapel game. We beat Troon twice. So we're sitting second in the league and probably one of the best teams I've seen this year. But on the other side of that, we don't score a goal against Benburb in 2 games, and they've lost 63 league goals, you know. And don't get me wrong, first game Kyle Falls at centre half after 2 minutes, which sort of dictated that. But the game last week again against Benburb is never a penalty that they got, but probably we didn't deserve to score because we were rubbish, if I'm honest. So it was probably peaking out to enough in each. The 2 teams were poor, but then they get a penalty or nothing, and we lose that game. So then, on the back of going up to Drumchapel, and I don't think Indy scored 6 goals at Drumchapel, especially in the last couple of years.
As I said at the beginning of the show, mate, wild game, absolutely mental.
And let's say we were well worth a victory, and we were very, very good on the day. But then the following week, you're awful against Benburb. So that's where my frustration is, Paul. We've shown really good moments, but then we've been poor against other teams in the league, and then we've been good. And but that's probably where we're at. We've had a lot of injuries again, like every other team. Like Kieran McPhee's been injured for most of the season, and I think he scored 12 goals, and he's only played half the season. And
he's a right good player, Kieran.
Yeah, but you're putting a lot of pressure on Adam and Stephen to perform week in, week out. And we've signed a young boy, Josh Howe, get him in for Queen's Park. He's just learning his trade. So then there's been moments when we've lost, like Kyle Falls, and Liam Lapsley's been out for a period of time. He's been really good for us as well. But we've lucky we've kept Gowser fit Scotty Forrester fit, Adam fit, Jamie Baines come in and been terrific for us as well. But there's a real nucleus here, a progressive squad there. But the question will be financially, can I keep it together? I'll know that within the next week. But again, the budget will be cut again at Pollock, and I'm not going to hide that because again, it just stops people talking about it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I've got my challenges to seek, and like you say, we don't know if there's going to be a change of leagues or whatever. So there's a lot to iron out. But one thing I will say, all the groups of players I've worked with, if it's a group I've had no had any drama all season. Nobody phoning me up wanting to chat, unhappy. Been a brilliant group to work with and a great group of players. That again, that's why I'm probably frustrated because I know that they could have achieved a bit more than what they have this year. But maybe it's just timing. They maybe need another year together. All the different things. Maybe key injuries to key players at points and another starter. I mean, yeah, we've conceded 11 penalties at Newlandsfield this year.
Scotty Forrest, don't you keep him kidding on?
To be fair, I think he's maybe only been at fault for one of them. But some of them have been. Some of them, I'm not saying they've all been an injustice, but some of them have been not been penalties, obviously. But I mean, and concede that amount of penalties at home's incredible. So yeah, it's been a frustrating season, but it's been a tough season, Paul, because a lot of teams went for it financially in our league this year. And we won the one of them. So it was always going to be. I think I said at the start of the season, where I was on a podcast or an interview, that a couple of big budget teams would suffer. And as you can see at the bottom of the league, there's a couple of bigger budget teams down there.
Yeah.
So again, there's so many teams going for it. There was always going to be criticism or disappointment. And Clyde Banks came to the fore and won it. So there's other teams that will be. Have lost their managers, etc., through the course of the season because of it. So yeah, it's. I'm just glad we've survived and we've stabilised, and because you could easily fall through that trap door like a couple of the bigger teams are seeing just now.
Yeah. I've just brought up the league table. We obviously know Clyde Bank have won it, right? But Beith, you would probably consider to have had an indifferent season, whether Straney leaving. Beith has had a detrimental effect, and that I don't think you can. I don't even think you could really say that or know that. I don't think you'll ever know that. But what can be said for Straney is he did an incredible job with his time there. But you know, there's 20. You mentioned about the golf. The one thing I will say about Clyde Bank, right, and I think they did it. I know they spent a lot of money. Right, I know the fees that were paid, or reported fees that were paid for 3 players, totals close to 50 grand, right? That's whether that's right or wrong. That's we'll say that we'll quote that anyway, right? But I think
you quote that. Nothing to do with me.
Nothing to do with you. I'll quote that.
Clyde Bank fans don't like me as it is, so don't add me into that mix. I
don't think they like me either.
See, to be fair, again, but do you know what? Clyde Bank, I said it in an interview when he beat us. I was quite honest in the interview when he beat us at Newlandsfield. Clyde Bank have been a team built in the making over a course of years.
That's what I mean. That was kind of the point I'm getting to. So for me, Clyde Bank have done it the right way.
100%. Totally agree with that.
They build and build and build, and then Moss probably looked at his team this season and going, right, these are the identifiers. This is where I need to improve my squad. Yep. How am I going to do it? Well, we'll go and get the best goalkeeper, or who's deemed the best goalkeeper. We're in the setup straight away. You know what I mean? And then they've got Big Simey, who, you know, notoriously one of the better defenders.
To be honest, Paul, he cut it down quickly. He improved the spine of the team because if you remember, Dean Cairns came in, who is a good player, but they also
was Dean with you, Kirkroe Rob Roy?
Yeah, Dean was a good player for me, Rob Roy, very, very good. But if you remember, Kieran Mulcahy went to Australia and came back, so there's the spine for Mulcahy, Cairns, Syme, Leishman, and you've got Nicky Lowe, Lee Gallagher, one of my old players as well, top player, Nicky Little, who speaks for himself. So, I'm talking a lot about Clyde Bank here, but they quickly analyse it. They added on to the nucleus, but it was all the spine of the team they improved. And a couple of younger players have progressed through as well. The wee boy, Ocean McHugh, came through. He's come through and he's come into a top player as well. So, they've done it the right way. They've done it the right way. Fair play to them.
So they've robbed the league. There's some fixtures tonight. We've got I said to you, we'll chat about you in the league for 20 minutes. It's 40 minutes. I love the West of Scotland. There's lots of good things to talk about. We've got some games tonight. Maxi Liso taking on St Caddock. Shots against Johnson Burough and Auchinleck Talbot against the Drum down at Beechwood. You can't use the phrase dead rubber, but we spoke on the show on Saturday and said that both Largs, Johnson Burough and Drumchapel's games will now be about building the squad for the Scottish Junior Cup ties. Largs Thistle entertain St Caddock's tonight. They're off the back of a good 1-0 win in the Scottish Junior Cup at the weekend. But now that second leg tie is not for another 4 weeks, which is absolutely wild in itself. I don't know how that's happened. I think that's maybe due to Johnson Burough having to catch up on some fixtures. How do you see that one going tonight with Largs and St Caddock's?
I don't think Largs play dead rubbers. I think they're really we played Largs. We played them once still to play them. They scored the very, very last kick of the ball to get a draw with us at Newlandsfield, but really energetic, really good striker in Will Sewell. Again, Arnie's built a lesser scale than what Clyde Bank have done, but because logistically where he is, a lot of the boys are fed down that neck of the woods, and he's managed to retain them. Plus, he's added a few diamonds in here or there, and he's had the backing of the board and everybody down there. So he's built something over the last couple of years, and you can gradually see how much they've improved. And it's no surprise that they're in the West final and in the semi-final of the Junior Cup and they got a result. I fancied them to get a result on Saturday up at Johnston Borough, if I'm honest. I know it's easy to say that now that they've done it, but I put it this way, I wasn't surprised. But I think again, somebody will shoot me down if it's door, but I think they'll have too much for St Caddock's tonight. I think they'll get a result.
I agree. Looking at the weekend's fixtures, mate, Clyde Bank, Glenafton, Cumnock, Beath, Darvel, Benburb, Hurlford, Shots, Johnson Borough, Pollock. You guys going away to Keene Park, and then obviously like you mentioned that final on Sunday with Auchinleck Talbot and Largs. Let's touch on that Darvel Benburb game. I like Mick. I've had Mick in the show several times, but I think time's running out for him. I know you can't, as a gaffer, mate, you don't want to say too much on that, but he's got his work cut out, hasn't he?
He's got to win. I think they've lost their last 3 home games. I think they lost to Drumchapel, Beath, Cumnock, and obviously Troons have lost their last 4 home games. They've been looking to take points out of that, and they've not. But I think, unbelievably, 4 or 5 defeats in a row what they've had, they've still got an opportunity to get out because I think they play Benburb twice.
They do. I think Mick pinpointed that day 2 games.
So I think it's a must win now. He's used up all his aces now. He's got to win. He's got to beat Benburb. I think they'll beat Benburb at the weekend, in my opinion. I think they've got a bit about them. They've invested heavily in their squad as well. Got really good players there, and they've been able to bring in players when they've needed that boost. Obviously, go Martin and Naismith. They don't come cheaply for Johnson Borough, as we know. Yeah. So I think they'll have too much for them at the weekend. That'll give them an opportunity to try and drag Benburb into it. I think they'll get a result at the weekend.
You guys are away to Keene Park, 2 o'clock kick-off on Saturday. How are you approaching? How are you approaching that one, mate? See, it's that part of the season, isn't it? Where you mentioned at the beginning of the show, you get quite a plethora of injuries. How are you approaching Saturday?
Full throttle. We're going to win the game as if we'd win it if we were going to win the league or whatever, fight relegation, whatever it may be. We're going to win the game. Our template hasn't changed ever since a couple of weeks ago when we were sitting mid-table. So we're going to win the game. I'll probably try and catch a bit of their game tonight. I've got a meeting to go to before it, but I'll try and catch a bit of their game against Shots tonight. I'll maybe try and go up there for maybe the second half. But no, we're going full throttle. We know that they've got one eye on their semi. I can't believe that semi-finals, 2 legs, it's 4 weeks apart. I mean, I don't know who thought
that only changed. That changed quite recently, right? So it was so Drumchapel's semi-final against Trinent this Saturday, first leg, and then it's the following week at Home Park. Whereas originally 2 weeks in between the Largs Johnson Borough game, but it changed recently. to 4 weeks. I don't know what's happened. I'd maybe need to have a look into that, but it's absolutely wild, isn't it?
It's wild for the players because there's a few players at Johnstone Borough that I had at Pollock and one I had at Rob Roy. So I feel for them because there's now a raft of games in between, and injury or whatever else could take you out a big massive game. And players are mindful of that. I've been there in that situation when I've been in semi-finals and looking forward to finals, and you're obviously wanting to go, once you go into the pitch, you go into game mode. Doesn't matter what game you're playing, but you don't want players to miss out because of either fatigue with so many games or get an injury and they miss out on a big moment in their careers to try and get to a final. Because as much as, let's say, Largs won at the weekend and I thought they had a good opportunity, Borough's not at that tie, and they've got really good. They've got big game players there that now know they need to step up, and their whole battle plan changes because they know they need to go down there and score now. So they're not going in there to defend the lead where you can be cautious. They can be a wee bit more free flowing down there, and they've got good players down there that I know really well. Obviously, Darren Christie, who had at Pollok, Fraser Mullen, Del Esplin, Stewart McCann, and obviously they've got Kieran Dyer. So they've got really, and obviously got Kyle Laffey. I don't know how fit he is, but they've got Aaron Mason, top player as well. So they've got attacking qualities there. I mean, I know there's that many players. I know.
There's that many good ones.
I need another round the show to go through their squad, but. No, but their template can change now, Paul, because they need to go and score, so they can be a wee bit more free flowing. Maybe taking the harness off them and not being at home and nothing to lose now because they're 1-0 down. So I think that tie's not dead. I think it'll be interesting, and obviously
you'll tell them that, but. Good luck to any team that wants to go and play large.
Well, if Murdy's no tell them, I've told them. So I've done their team talk from there.
No. Just quickly before we move on to Division 1, I want to just touch on that shots game with Johnstone Borough tonight. Huge for them because
massive. John's been obviously me and John are really tight, and brilliant manager, brilliant guy, and he's racked up so many draws and they became difficult to beat. Don't get me wrong, we played really well when we beat him 3-0 and he admitted that, and we had the conversation the next day, but he's like no complaints. We were good that night, to be fair.
I was at that game, Stuart. I thought you were well over here when that day.
Aye, but in between that, Paul, they've drew twice with Troon. Obviously they went away, I think they drew with somebody else. They were unlucky. Down at Davos, I think they drew as well. But he's I fancy them to get something tonight. I really do. Again, I'm going to stick my neck out. I think they could get a draw. Maybe it's got not neat written all over it. The two situation the two teams are in, but I fancy them to get some. But I think shots could get out of this. But I think the two Benburb Davos games is going to get one of them out of it. Yeah. So it's really interesting. But I think shots are scrapping. But John's done phenomenal there, but I do think he'll take something tonight, whether it's a win or no. But I think he's capable of taking something tonight.
It's interesting that you said that because we had Des Roach, myself, Asa Conley, and PG in the studio on Saturday when we were doing Saturday Football Live, and all of us kind of said that we think shots will have enough to do it, given that they've got the two games at Hannah Park. I think it's really important that, I don't see many teams. It's daft saying that because they've only won 3 or 4 games all season, but like I said, they've got so many draws, it's unbelievable. I think John might just escape it. In John's head, I don't know as a gaffer how you guys. Obviously, I run my own amateur team and I have done for years, right? But it's a bit different because there's no really anything on the line at that level of football, right? But something tells me John wouldn't be overly devastated if they went back down to that division, because I know his resources have been fully exerted in another season of fighting or potentially fighting. Because I'm not saying that that's exactly what's going to happen. They might not fight relegation next year, but it would be really tough mentally for if they did stay in the division to then go again and sign players and do the exact same all over again.
It's been a mental grind for John. I mean, I'm on the phone to him every week, and sometimes we're on the phone to Samaritans at the same time. They just put us onto a group call, and they go, "Is it you and John again? I take it it's not went well at the weekend." So, me and John are on the phone constantly. It's been a mental grind for him. In reality, I don't think shots within the club have got the ambition to go up another level. I think they're quite happy to bounce for the Championship up to the first, and if John can work his magic, which he's done. I think they're happy to go with that. I think something needs to dramatically change in infrastructure at Shotts for them to kick to the next level. But I tell you what, they've got a fantastic manager, and they've been really lucky to have him for a long period. But John's got a few coaching commitments up there, and it sort of works for John as well as a club. So I think you're right. I think there's no an expectation with the supporters and the committee, which John's got big expectations on himself. He's a winner, and he's a top player, and he's been a top manager. So, but be a bit different with me at Pollock. The minute we get beat, I get fucking criticised for angles, whereas John's like that. I'm glad I've not got that on top of what I've got to deal with. So, I think ambition wise, I think you hit the nail on the head. That's for Shotts as a club, but no where John is as a manager.
Division 1, mate. Games tonight. Blantyre, Arthurlie, Thornywood, Rutherglen. Thornywood, Rutherglen probably a bigger game than no disrespect to Blantyre, but they look down and out. And Arthurlie, obviously, Dinky needs to go there and stuff. I suppose another way to look at it is Blantyre have really got nothing to lose. That could end up being a detriment to Arthurlie, because Arthurlie now, I know they've got a lot of games in hand, mate, but they need to convert games in hand into 3 points.
Well, I think it's been down to Castle Park at Blantyre at this stage of the season. It's not going to be conducive to good football. I think it's just a case of Arthurlie going down there and just getting a result with a 1-0 scrappy goal. Listen, obviously we'd love to win 3 or 4, but it's just going down at this stage of the season. It's not about your performance, it's about winning games. And I think they'll get over the line down there tonight. I think it'll not be easy, because I think one thing about Ross's teams recently, they pop up with results. And I think they beat Ardrossan at the weekend, because one of my old strikers scored a double from Adam Cummings. So I think they've got some good players down there. And I like Ross, he's took on such a hard job down there. And so it'll not be easy for Arthurlie, but I think they'll go over the line. And the other game, I could talk about Joe Price quite a lot. So I think Joe's had a really good spell, then they've dipped off, then they've come back. They've been really inconsistent, but they need to hit a run now. I think they've no left any room for error. And I think if they lost tonight, I think Thornywood could give themselves an outside opportunity again up as well. So that's a massive game tonight. That's a lot of pressure in that game, because I think the loser of that tonight might not go up in the top 3.
Yeah. So we'll just quickly touch on the games at the weekend. We'll move quickly into Division 2. I'm cautious of the time. So we've got a massive game for me in terms of what it will mean on Saturday. Irvine Meadow at home to Arthurlie, Ardrossan, Cumbernauld, Petershill, Maple, Glencairn, Rob Roy, St Roch's, Kilbirnie Ladeside, and Thornywood winning some massive games in there, and we'll keep a wee eye on them. PG, I'm not too sure how PG's got in the studio on Saturday, but they'll be keeping a right good eye on them. Some big games in there on Saturday. The second division, where it's all happening, that first division's mental, but likely the exact same in the second division. Whitlet's, Neilson and Muirkirk, and then Lanark sort of occupying the top 4 positions. Do we have any games tonight? No, we don't. We've got Cambuslang Rangers against Lanark United, Forth against Bonnyton, Kilsyth take on Lesmahago, Maryhill Larkhall, Muirkirk Yoker, Neilson Cali Locals, St Anthony's Craig Mark, and Whitlet's Bells Hill. Let's quickly talk about how tight that is at the top. Maxi 60 points is what Whitlet's are at, but they get a bit of a doing at the weekend and 3 players sent off. So that's going to have a detrimental effect on their next couple of games, because they will not have 3 players available to them. Neilson beat off in Muirkirk at the weekend. Looking at that table, Muirkirk played 24, Neilson 27, Whitlet's 28, Muirkirk 54, Neilson 58, and Whitlet's Victoria 60. You always say that the team at the top are on the ascendancy, but it looks like Muirkirk are creeping, and then you've got Lanark right behind them as well. That's well open, that league, isn't it? Still wide open. Yeah,
I think at this stage of the season, emotions running high. You need to keep your discipline, and obviously what's happening at the weekend, and like you say, it can have a detriment on you, because it's getting to the business end. Managers are feeling it, players are feeling it, supporters are feeling it, committee members are feeling it. So when you go into that pitch, you need to try and control your emotions, because that can end up, as you say, ultimately can cost you. And when it's 3 players that have been sent off, it's probably 3 of their starters as well. So again, don't know where they're sitting squad-wise and injury-wise, but you need to try and keep your emotions in check, and you try to win medals and win cups. But no, it looks as if it's going to be a tight end of the season, and it's ironic when you look at all the leagues, like apart from the Premier League, like all the leagues below it, because obviously it's promotion spots.
Yeah.
It's never ever cut and dry. There's always a team that comes for fourth or fifth and challenging into the third spot. So as a bit of to and fro, when midweek games kicking in now, the landscape can quickly change in 7 days if you get 3 games in 7 days for you or against you. So I think positions will be dictated over the next week and a half. You'll see who's coming to the fore and who's going to miss out in all the leagues below.
We said on the Saturday Live show on Saturday that if I were to pick one that miss, I'm not going to ask you to do that. I don't ask gaffers to do that because, again, I don't like doing that. But we picked Nielsen, and I hate saying that because I love the guys up there, and Andy's built his team a nucleus of Saturday amateur players, which obviously, and amongst, the likes of Dale McNabb and Dylan Fletcher, who have been in and about the setup for a while. I think he's done an incredible job. Then you've got Muirkirk, who have built their team around he's away. Oh, you're back. Happy days. All good. Somebody phone you there?
Sorry, aye.
That's all right. That happened with Hopi. So I chose Nielsen. I think Nielsen might just miss out. I spoke to Daryl Meikle. We had Daryl Meikle, the Lanark manager, on the show last week, and he alluded to it being 5 cup finals for them. I think he'll not want me saying it, but I think Lanark might just sneak that one. And listen, Andy, see if I'm wrong about Nielsen and you do go up, we are more than happy to come on the show and absolutely diss me. Third division, Maxi, Thorn have pretty much got that wrapped up. We've said that for a long period of time. I know mathematically it's not quite done yet due to the number of games that 3 have still got to play, but can we quickly touch on the Thorn, just how good a model have they got up there, mate? And I think it's a real testament to the club as a whole that they've managed to have 3 managers in the space of a year and a bit, and nothing's really changed.
I think the community clubs in the lower leagues are starting to come to the fore, and you can see their models starting to work. Just take a wee bit of time, but now you can start to see models working there and bringing youth and giving opportunities and giving players a platform to go and express themselves at this level, and obviously trying to get themselves to either a bigger move or progress up through the leagues with a club if they manage to do that. So, not fair play to them. They've done really well, and they've been consistent all season in that league, haven't they? They've sort of, like MDLs have a wee dip here or there, but over the piece they've been consistent. So that's what you get when you win a league. Consistency wins you a league. The league doesn't lie. So well done to them.
It'll be an interesting couple of weeks in that league because you get 3 Rovers who have only played 22 games. That's 5 less than Thorn. That would 15 points if they turn them games in hand into wins. But I don't think 3 will do that.
Be very, very difficult to do that. But if they do that and they go and win the league, fair play to them. They've done that. But it will be hard, as you say, a run of games. Depends where they're at squad wise as well and availability as well.
Cool side. I said in the show on Saturday again, we spoke to Bailey after the game. It's actually quite funny how that when a manager announces that he's leaving at the end of the season, his team then propels, and sometimes it goes the other way. Sometimes I thought it was very bold of Kilsyth coming out and saying that the manager was leaving at the end of the season. Sometimes you maybe want to leave that, but it's done them, and it's done them an absolute wonder, and they look like they might just nick that for one of their promotion spots.
Yeah, well, they've got one of my former strikers at Rob Roy's went in, dropped in the league to play with him, Connor Hughes, and I think he's absolutely flying. So
Connor's a great player.
A great player.
As well, McCormick. He's very good.
Aye, and I had Kerr McCormick as well, but I think the boy Archibald's done well as well. So again, they've went down the community route as well, and it's been a lot of, obviously he's a young manager, and he's a lot of his pals, I think, as well. So I think it's like
a real life football manager, man.
It's like let's say he's not. You put your every manager does. You put yourself under pressure, but there's not an immense pressure for a big fan base. There's been a chance to be free flowing, players in development, and that's been a year or two in the making as well. And they're starting to see the fruits of that labour now, and they've hit a wee run as well. So it'll be interesting to enter that league. But they've hit a bit of form, so it's a lot of a good opportunity for them to go up as well.
The interesting landscape of Division 4 before we finish up, Maxi. That battle for the title let's just talk about that. Knightswood, Port Glasgow Juniors. We'll delve into the fixtures. Rossvale against Pollock, BSC Easterhouse, Campbelltown West Park, East Kilbride Knightswood, Eglinton Giffnock, Newmains Port Glasgow Juniors, Saltcoats Victoria take on Royal Albert, St Peters take on Kello. St Peters in a good run of form. I think they've not been beaten in 8 or 9 at home to Kello. Kello are sort of occupying that last promotion, and I don't think that's going to change. I don't think Easterhouse or Rossvale have got enough to get that. But the title challenge is not really given. They gave it the weekend when Saltcoats managed to get a draw at Knightswood, which I don't think anybody would ever have expected. No disrespect to them and no disrespect to Saltcoats, but you've got Knightswood going away to East Kilbride Thistle, who are on a bit of a lull, and then you've got Port Glasgow going to Newmains United, who again are on a bit of a lull. Something's got to give, but isn't it?
Aye, and again, like I say, there's been so much consistency with Knightswood and Port Glasgow in that league, but you do have a blip here or there. It's just, and there's other teams that have been progressive, that have maybe started off the season, but now are keeping their squads getting better, the players getting better, and they're having a late push and getting stronger. So the games become difficult because they've improved. The teams at the top are getting edgy, and that combination makes games very, very tight this stage of the season.
I wonder if Knightswood are feeling the pressure a little bit, because up to 3 weeks ago, Knightswood hadn't been beaten and they'd only drawn a couple. They've now drawn 4. So is that pressure maybe telling, because you've got a team there in Port Glasgow Juniors who have scored 105 goals this season?
Yeah, I think Knightswood leading for so long. I know Michael Pender really well. Mick's a great lad, and he was lucky enough to bring good experienced players in like Darren Miller and a lot of good young players. I think Knightswood 20s have got to the Scottish Cup final as well, so there's good players coming through. But when you've led for so long, and then like everybody has, even when you have a league title, you've had a blip somewhere, then there's a team momentum behind them in Port Glasgow who seem to be free-flowing, scoring goals. And when you've led for so long and you start eating your lead, a bit like we're talking about with Musselburgh in the East, we have a beef leading for so long, it does mentally affect you. I don't know what the availability is of the squad as well. I don't know if any key players are injured or what's happening, but it's going to be a frantic end to that might go to the last game of the season as well, so it could be interesting.
By the way, with the running fixtures, I think that might actually go down to the wire. But yes, good luck to Knightswood, Port Glasgow, and obviously we can't just yet discount Kello, Easterhouse. I think Easterhouse are starting with a chance of promotion, so we can't discount.
They've done fantastic as well, Paul. They've changed managers a few times, and I'm close to the Danny Cameron, who runs Easterhouse, the whole thing. Yeah, and their managers come in, and he's really, really improved them, and they've been preaching to be more professional. When he first came in, it was all local players, but now they're branching out, bringing players in. I think the Easterhouse manager's done fantastic there. I don't know him personally, but speaking to Danny and knowing the results, and like you say, talk about managers changing, there was a turnover of managers quickly there. So they've done really well. They're a progressive club, and don't be surprised if he can manage to grow in that again, that they're a real force. If they didn't go up this year, they'll be challenging for that title next year.
Yeah, listen, Max, it's been great to have you on. We're 2 or 3 minutes over. I suppose that's not too bad, mate. It's not too bad. Before we go, need to do the old shout outs. So the West Scotland Buildup Show and Pyramid Promotions are sponsored by VSN and Roxburgh Insurance Brokers. You can follow us on X at the West Scotland Football League Buildup. We'll pop a wee link to VSN. They do some excellent bespoke kits, and they do a lot of Peter Parker's just with the glasses there, big man. So VSN, they supply a lot of teams in the West of Scotland with some really good kit. Gary, who you'll see kicking about at games. Give them a wee tap on the shoulder if you're maybe looking to get on board with VSN and like Roxburgh Insurance Brokers, give them a wee Google. Best in the business according to Big Des. Roach, Stewart, for now, thanks very much for being on, mate, and go and enjoy the rest of your day.